I know this is the third video in a row I've done on stick structures, and I used to abhor. Didn't really like stick structures. It's like, yeah, it's a pile of sticks. Woo. And then, of course, when you're not in the know, when you're not open to the idea that Sasquatch and aliens are crafting these wooden circles, stick circles, just like crop circles. These are stick circles, but they appear to be like giant teepees. They're probably the most prominent, most noticeable, and maybe one of the more common stick type structures attributed to Sasquatch. I found it. Oh, this is very exciting. Like the Bigfoot world has this like its own little subculture, right, with its own news filter, and it's been pretty quiet for the most part. Same old shenanigans by the same old circus clowns. You know, the same old thing. People are trying to be like, yeah, I'm going to save Sasquatch, or I've proven the existence of Sasquatch. And it's never an altruistic, you know, it's never an act of humility and anonymous. No, it's like a person wants to make themselves like, you know, I'm the king. Evasion, surveillance, camouflage. Trained by army snipers from the 1800s. And shamans from a remote African tribe in the art of concealment. Notable PhDs. Throw some big letters at you. But this is a step above. This is a federal agency. The really cool thing about this is it's like this humongous pile of information, of raw data. It's not really been classified or filtered or examined with a, you know, in like a peer review process, but there's a tremendous amount of people taking photographs of these structures all over the place. And now suddenly you have a federal agency that's opening up a can of worms. This is like the Roswell case of 1947. You know, where the rancher, the UFO crashed onto his sheep farm and scattered debris all over the place. Magical debris. Metal that would remember its shape, and stuff that was super light that you couldn't bend with a sledgehammer, and other pieces that had weird hieroglyphics on it. So this guy policed up a bunch of stuff, took it in town. Next thing you know, a major from the Air Force goes out, investigates, reports it to the Associated Press. UFO crashes in Roswell. Of course, the next day he's got a Mylar balloon out there. Oh yeah. Even though I'm a major at a nuclear base. Yeah, I'm confused. That was just a weather balloon that the Russians sent over. Yeah, it's just a balloon. It had a little, it was nothing really. I don't know why I thought it was UFO with dead aliens in it. My mistake. So the U.S. Forest Service in New Mexico is asking you to report on Sasquatch. Also asking Sasquatch to stop making stick structures. And what they apparently don't know is there's like, the minute they put that request out there, the information they want, the data set that they're looking for, namely these strange stick structures, how many of them are there and where are they? Would you please go out and report them? It's already been done. You go into the Bigfoot community, there is a vast mountain of information going years back. This is not a new phenomenon. That's another thing. They're like, they're on the increase. Do you think that these stick structures are on the increase like those brilliant researchers in the federal government who just recently discovered stick structures within their domain? Never knew they were there before, just discovered them. Do you think that they are more into you know, what's creating these things, or maybe the people that have already amassed a mountain of evidence? That's telling. That's really telling. And like I said, even though people will say, wow, these are Rabbids Boy Scouts with invisibility cloaks in stealth mode, like Harry Potter, with, 40, 60 hours of free time on their hands in difficult to access terrain in remote areas, in areas that has rangers and people observing what's going on. All of a sudden these things just mysterious pop up. No one takes credit for them. When you do a thing for survival structures, stick structures, no one's claiming these things. No one is posting videos bragging about their technical expertise in stick structure. It's not happening. Also telling. It's very telling. It's telling that the Bigfoot community has amassed the largest database on this information. It's a loose database, but I mean in terms of reports and photographs. No other group of people or individuals professing to be of any other, like, you don't see people that are like, oh, I'm a UFO researcher and look at all these stick structures I photographed. No. Or, I research snow leopards in the Himalayas. Look at all these stick structures I have in my research area. You see where I'm going with this? The people that have these photos are the people that will proclaim to be Bigfoot researchers. Bigfoot believers, Bigfoot knowers, witnesses. I've had a couple people leave comments, several of you guys have left comments on the last couple of videos I did. I mean, talking about stick structures. One guy even said, yeah, that he saw one of these things go into one of these structures. This is not a delusion. This is not a hallucination. This is being confirmed by a federal agency. They're asking you to help them find out who's making these things. It's laughable. Did they not do a search? Did they not know? Were they really totally, completely oblivious to the fact that these stick structures were already, being talked about and discussed, and theories, and there's books written on them? A number of books, several books, not like just one, a couple, a bunch. You could call it a bunch of books. Also telling. I say I'm excited about this because unlike a body, think about this for a second. Unlike a body of Sasquatch, I mean, that would be the best thing. Just like Grover Krantz said, the biologists that advocated for shooting one holotype to establish the species, he said it wouldn't be good enough to take the thing to a conference. Like, hey, here's the body on ice, under glass. You can go over and, we'll pick the glass if you can poke it with a stick. The physical thing right in front of you, tangible. Yeah, there it is. There's a Sasquatch. Wow, that's amazing. I believe it. There's, or, one in a cage, in a box, in a coffin, or a cage. He also said that it wouldn't be good enough to just take it to one conference. You'd have to take it to every conference you went to. You'd have to, because it would be so outlandish, people wouldn't buy it. Well, unlike that, stick structures are, as I said, they're everywhere. They're everywhere in the environment, because Sasquatch, any place there's woods, pretty much everywhere in the environment. People can, almost anybody is within range to go and access some of these stick structures. And there's, it's wide open, there's all kinds of stuff you could do. It's like science field experiments. I mean, the simplest thing is to go and photograph. The more photographs, the better photographs, the better. And then, aside from that, if someone started keeping a database, a log, like how big it was, were there other ones near it, or if there were other ones near it, how far away were they? There's a lot of information that could be looked at, and then things would sprout from that. That would be fertile ground for other ideas, other concepts, other pieces of the puzzle, clues to the riddle of what are the Sasquatch people. And ultimately, that's really what we're interested in. I mean, I know it'd be nice to have that, old becrippled Sasquatch with a fatal heart disease that just got taken out by a truck painlessly, and then we'd have our body. We'd have a holotype, put it on ice, drag that thing around, duct tape it to the snowmobile trailer, take it down to town office, get that baby tagged. I didn't mean to run over it. It hobbled out in front of me and just stood there at the last minute. There was nothing I could do. Come on. I jest a little bit, but that would be nice. That's probably unlikely to happen. And most people that shoot these things, well, not most people, but a portion of people that claim to shoot at or try to shoot these things either will report their bullets have no effect. That's quite frequent. Or the thing will just disappear into a burst of light, which I used to think was a bunch of hogwash. I thought either people were sincere but delusional, or or corrupt and just trying to pull one over, just telling a yarn, spinning a yarn. Until I saw one leap out of a ditch, take a couple steps, and like just, I had the sound effect, but it was just like just turned to dust. Almost exactly like something you'd see, like a Hollywood movie, sci-fi effect or something. So I'm not as quick to dismiss some of the more outlandish. I know it's tough too, because I see some of you guys like, oh, he's talking about the WHOO. I'm out of here. Yeah, everything else I was fully on board. Everything else he was saying, but when he started talking about WHOO, I draw the line. That's where the line is drawn. You shall not cross. I mean, to be honest, that's a little bit of a bias. It's a reasonable bias. It's a politically popular bias. You're less likely to be ostracized, kicked out of your group, or made fun of if you follow the status quo and reject the WHOO. Problem with that is that then you end up you're putting this filter in. You're putting this filter in to the reports that are coming in. Your filter is going to ignore any WHOO aspects, which is kind of what the BFRO does. And then what you've done is, it's like you've got this puzzle that you get in this box, right? And you go through the puzzle. Before you try putting the puzzle together, you're like, well, I'm going to get these puzzle pieces out of the box. But some of them, you look at them and you go, that's the wrong color. Or that just doesn't look right to me. Wrong, texture. Can't be the same puzzle. Yeah, we're going to leave those ones in the box. We're just going to take these puzzle pieces that I like. All right, then we're going to put these puzzles together. Then we sit there scratching our head going, gee, I wonder where all these missing puzzle pieces are. How come we can't figure out this picture? We can't deduce the puzzle. Unravel the riddle. Think about it. In science, you collect a bunch of data, or you form a hypothesis and you ask a question. You ask a question about something in the environment, and then you go forth and you collect a bunch of data, and you try to make sense of that information. You look at it, and you try to look at it in novel ways. You apply math to it, and all sorts of things, spectrographs and chemical analyses, whatever. You're looking for trees, the science of dendrochronology. You're looking at the tree rings. If one grows more in 1 year, is it because it's in shade? Can you look at the climate and determine what the climate was? Was there a forest fire? Was there an extremely cold winter or a wet summer? Those things would be reflected in the rings of a tree. It's like it with any type of science. Now with Sasquatch, we are conditioned and trained, and we're awesome at it. We're wicked good at filtering this information because we've been taught to do this shit forever, since we can't even remember, right? So we're really good at excluding puzzle pieces. You're never going to see the picture. you're never going to get the whole picture if you don't have the parts of the picture, the parts of the puzzle. You're never going to get to understand the whole subject matter if you're throwing away half of it. And I think a case could be made that frequently we do that. Like the aliens and Sasquatch, we'll either dismiss one completely out of hand, or in the case of Sasquatch particularly, we'll determine something. We'll say, well, if it's real, see, we put a modifier on it. If the thing is real, then it must be a hominid. It's got to be a primate. Has to be. Can't be anything else. See, we're totally shutting down to any other possibility. Oh, things can't be telepathic because I'm not telepathic and I've been told it's impossible. So anyone that's talking about telepathy must be crazy. Now, what I find kind of interesting is we come to that situation not through empirical evidence, not through experiencing these things for ourselves, because a lot of people, probably most people, at some point in their lives will experience what they view as a sense of telepathy. Somehow or another, you know the phone's going to ring before it rings, or you know when the phone rings before you answer who it's going to be. It's not uncommon for siblings and people that have been with each other for a long time to report events of telepathy where they both think the same thing, or one person's far away and is in distress and the other person immediately knows it. So many of our life experiences actually go counter to what we've been told that we're supposed to, what we've been conditioned to accept. I think the Forest Service, in its small way, by thrusting this idea into the public consciousness, which may be a psyops, as people have said. Maybe the feds are soliciting information, this is their way of doing it. Or they're fishing for something. It could be something else. But either way, there's been several major local news stories on this. Coast to Coast covered it. Clearly, it hits home, right? Because it's accessible to you. You can go forth and see these things. So many people have experienced seeing these things in the forest, and they look at it and they go, something is different about that. It's not natural. It looks like a human should have built it, but what's going on? What's going on is the lack of tool marks and nearly always debarked, seasoned wood. Found woods. They're just policing up wood. These tree circles, like crop circles, tree circles, stick circles, are immediately make a person a little bit uncomfortable. They look at it and they're not quite sure what's going on. I think it's awesome. It's very exciting to see this put out there, because sooner or later the Forest Service or somebody in that department is going to be asked by some reporter, well, how do you feel about this being connected to Bigfoot? And they're going to come out with the patented, whoa, people are doing it, without addressing the idiosyncrasies, the things that are off between these stick structures and so-called survival huts. They're easily distinguishable between the two. I can't wait to see how they're going to handle that. What do you guys think? Do you think that eventually, I think there's a possibility, because there's a huge amount of thought, and there's a lot of people that are looking at these stick structures, and when you compare them to the survival huts and the stuff that we know that people make, even the most staunch, person against it, the person is just completely against all this stuff, will look at it and go, if they're honest with themselves, they'll look at it and they can't help but see the differences, and it makes no sense. These things are not a shelter. They don't keep out the elements. How long is it going to be before somebody asks the federal government about the connection to it? And what do you think their response is going to be? Oh, yeah, we knew it was Bigfoot. We just wanted you to ask us that. Somehow I don't see that happening.